Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads. And as always, welcome back to our Around the Hearth discussions. This time, we are continuing our conversion of the song End of All Hope by Nightwish, but we're going to be discussing PCs in this one, player characters, or NPCs in this one. So, you can stick around for that. Before we dive into that, we need to do Dan's introductions and announcements. So I will go first like normal, and then we'll have Skrat and then Dan go, because we're going to mix it up some. One of these days, I'm going to surprise him and say, I'm not going first anymore. It's going to be this first and that first. But we're not going to do that yet. This time it's me first. I am Adam with the Inn of Planar Crossroads. You can check us out at innofplanarcrossroads.com or theiopc.com. Either one of those works. You can engage with our content on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Twitch, X, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Subscribestar, PayPal, Locals, Patreon, or just reach out to us at theiopc@protonmail.com. Any of those work. And I would encourage you to do so because we're trying out something different this year. Next month, so in about a week or so from when this comes out, we're going to start releasing March of the Mech stuff. It's going to be Transformers themed, to let's get that in. And then we're going to be making one-page supplemental type of things that are going to be able to be used for you in your games or stuff like that. We're not sure yet if it's going to be like adventure hook things or settings / adventure hook / PC or NPC development, but it'll be something each week. So we'll have like 4 pages for that month of stuff, and I'll have them ready and prepped, and then we can fill those in as we do stuff. So that's the plan, and those will be available probably in PDF form when you get them on the Discord. So to join the Discord for the Inn of Planar Crossroads, you just have to support us at least one time, and that gets you lifetime access. So however you want to look at that, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I'm not your dad, but
that's my line. That's what I say in my videos.
I'm not your pathfather, so there you go.
Nice.
That's what when we were playing Pathfinder, that's what Kane called me one time. Said I should be. So I'm not your pathfather. You can do what you want. So that's me. And that means Skrat. What you got?
Yo, yep, that's me, Skrat from Squirrel Plays over on YouTube, and I make videos, surprise, surprise, talking about character building, world building, some story kind of stuff, how to make your stories interesting, that kind of thing. Very TTRPG focused, but coming from a writing perspective, because writing is what I like to do. It's what I was about to say it's what I spend most of my time doing, but YouTube is certainly taking its fair share, more than I'd like. But yeah, that is what I do, and I get to dig into a lot of other TTRPGs. I really shouldn't call myself new to the hobby at this point, but I still do because everybody around me has
been at least a couple years, bro.
I'll say, but still, everybody else that I know and associate with has been in it longer than me, so I'm still the noob guy. But I get to check out a lot of smaller, lesser-known TTRPGs, not counting EZD6. That's pretty well known at this point. But I like to explore those and give a good, honest review only after I've played them, usually, most of the time. There was one time I didn't, for reasons, but it's not the one you're thinking of. It's Dim Day Red. I had to review that one before I played it, but then I got to play it, so luckily everything I said was right.
Vindication.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty fun game. That one's a really cool setting. We need to squeeze that into one of these episodes.
There you go. There's the Fallout one for Scratterday in October.
Ooh, that's true.
Well, we are supposed to be playing that on Avenue Studios, and we had it scheduled. Then the GM caught some COVID right before game time, and we haven't rescheduled. So
Still waiting to hear.
Yeah,
Maybe-
I
we'll
need to
ping 'em.
poke Risa.
Yeah.
That one's on me, I guess. I mean, really, she should
Wow,
be
we can-
reaching out, but
Yeah.
I could. Anyway, it's your turn.
All right.
Oh, hey everybody, Dan from Avenue Studios. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, and anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us Thursday nights for our mini campaigns. We will be heading towards, if not already starting, our Battles Du Bestiary campaign, about 8 to 12 sessions there, and we'll be using Roll for Combat content in that. Do look forward to a Nuts campaign down the road as well, so we've got a couple coming out this year I'm excited to see. And of course, Scratter Days on our channel, where Skrat brings us indie games and other stuff you might not have seen as often, and we play one-shots in it. And Tuesday nights, you can join Kristen and I over on Moonskull for their Starfinder 2e game. We are playing as two of the characters in that campaign, so that'll be fun. Horror, space, all that good stuff.
I heard
And
no one
that's
can
us.
hear you scream out there.
Yes. But we're playing Signal of Screams, so we'll have to see what happens.
You're just going to record a bunch of screams and start broadcasting it. It's like, ah!
Yes.
People think it's some new kind of metal or something. I don't know.
I like that.
All right. Well, I'm looking at some of these pictures, Dan. You might have to update, like, the Bomb Squad picture. I don't see enough white in that beard. You know?
No.
Yeah. I noticed that on your little
Uh.
commercial whenever your streams were ready to start or waiting to start.
Old man.
Gotta update,
Mickey
man.
Mouse.
No, see,
Yeah,
when men get
it's
white in their
not gonna
beards, it looks
happen.
distinguished.
Yes. A little salt and a pepper.
All right. Well, that is our Dan's introductions and announcements, which means we are to our final shout out for this month, final Levi's spotlight, which is That Turtle GM. They have 1,000 subscribers right at this recording, so we're trying to get them up to 1,500. They most recently, as of recording, did the Sapphire Dragon, which was, he puts together his videos and he's got little clips in there and stuff like that. It's good editing and it's a good set of editing style and stuff, so it keeps it popping back and forth. Helps you remember some of it if you want to check those out. It is for D&D 5e, which is not our preferred system around here. But if you insist on playing 5 or 5.5 or whatever it is now, you can. But if you don't, you can always take inspiration, which is what I like to do. Well, your Sapphire Dragons may have the same abilities, but not be in the same system. That's what I've got. And apparently, Noodle is making a guest appearance on Skrat's spot.
Oh,
They're a tag.
that's so good.
There you go. All right, that's our shout out. Go over there, leave a turtle emoji, and say, I think we told people last time to start saying Doom Argonians over there. So say Doom Argonians and tell them that Skrat told him to say it. So Skrat from A Squirrel Plays, Adam from
Skrat sent the
Planar
horde.
Yes.
Skrat sent the horde of squirrels and turtles. So the squirrels ride turtles as mounts? Is that how this is now? And they ride them into battle? That would be so juxtaposed though, because squirrels are erratic and fast, and their mounts are slow. I don't get it.
Hey man, that turtle I had in the backyard was pretty fast. He could scoot. Just saying.
All right. Well, that's our shout out. And let me see. I think we're done with we want to try and get into this, so we're done with our shout out. We're done with the Dan's introductions and announcements. It means it's time to grab your preferred beverage and join us around the hearth as we dive into Councils of Kane, discussing Another Black Rose Born. Skull.
Skull.
So that's not literally what we're discussing. We're doing media conversion for PCs and NPCs, and how that relates to the story beats and world building we did before. And this one is going to be covering that. Now, I read last time Kane's kind of points that he was bringing up, so you can check that out in the last one. We're going to go ahead and dive into our things. Do one of y'all want to start, or do you want me to start?
You made us start last time. I'm fine wherever, so.
Okie dokie. So I guess since I ended last time, I'll start this time, and we'll go in reverse order. So it'll be me, Dan, and then Skrat for PC ideas and stuff.
Okay.
So
Sounds good.
to build off of mine, I was talking about in the setting portion, a dying god. They have to reignite things, kind of like a Dark Souls thing, but it was, I think we discussed this. If I remember right, and the episode's correct, it's we were discussing kind of atheistic deity design, and it was either 2003 or late 2002 in one of the around the Hearth sim. We were discussing that idea and of a dying universe is how you would kind of do that. So the god of this universe, the creator and maker of this universe, has been spent. He's died. He's either dying or the universe itself is winding down and is done. So that's what we're diving into. So the PCs are to discover this, and one or more of them must ascend. And there is no saving the current universe or setting. This is where you give high-level players a problem. You cannot continue to live in this universe. It either has to be redone or it ceases. Including you, including everything. Everything ends if no one ascends. Everything burns out and wastes away. Kind of like heat death of the universe, but with life force. Everything ends. So, that's the idea with this. There's no way to save this current setting. You must do something. It's of course pretty grimdark when you're dealing with that. I don't think this is a game that you're going to play and have you'll have moments of levity, but this is one of those times when you're going to have you want to have a serious game with this one. The PCs must have trauma or be very powerful. And this is that there's a portion in the song, some of it I covered last time, but one of it is wounded is the deer that leaps the highest, and my wound it cuts so deep, turn off the light and let me pull the plug type of thing. So that's kind of the idea with this. No one's getting out of this unscathed. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Everybody's going to be losing things. You're losing things all along the way. You may have been losing things. This could be a long-term thing. I think Child of Man did an idea where no new children were being born. It was a post-apocalyptic in that sense, where children of men or whatever it was, and then one lady gets pregnant. She is the hope of that whole world now, and that could be a way where you make it where the players aren't the ones ascending, but they're saving the one that is. That child might be the one that ascends. So you could do it that way if you want to take the focus off of a player's, especially if one or two of the characters might push themselves and you don't want party conflict, then you could do it that way, where there's this thing they need to protect. Could have it where, I just did that. So protect the mom, protect existence is the idea. And then it's good if you want to kind of pair it with Bless the Child, which is another song from that same album. So it's fourth studio album,
fun.
Century Child. So you could take that whole album if you want to. So you can pair it with Bless the Child and work that in. So that's what I have as far as PCs. Oh, and I wanted to bring in the idea, talked about last time, of since this big deity is dying, the deity that maintained the universe, these other spirits or the creator god is dying, so this other spirits have risen up, and they are Zeus, Ra, all these things. maybe those are the things that the players are playing, and they have to fight other adversaries to protect this thing, or be the ones to ascend, depending on how you want to spin that. But both work. So either protect the mom or be the one that ascends. I guess if you're not worried about, if you're actually wanting to let this play out and create the story for your next setting, you could just let them fight. You could just let your players have that internal conflict and see who does ascend, and if they make deals to say, if I ascend, I'll bring you with me, type of thing, or stuff like that. So that's a possibility too. But that's mine. Which means we're to Dan.
Not Cthulian at all to make them fight amongst themselves. Oh, man. I love it. Well, I'll start with the baddies, because I already mentioned that. I haven't had time to flesh it really out, but I love the idea of the Mandelion, the Death Wish, End of Hope, End of Love, End of Time section, and making those into like the Princes of Darkness or something. And it was interesting to find out what the I still don't know how to pronounce it, but Mandelion,
That's right.
whatever. Mandelion. Mandelion. So it's just, it would be really cool to dive into that, play around with that, and you could develop those villains to make them very unique bosses that you slowly go and try to defeat. I think it leaves some very interesting play there on the words. And then for my setting with the party, I think it would be great to mix and match in the party, but I'd love to have just your everyday human that probably has access, because we are in high fantasy. They got to have something. Maybe you go with like Demon Slayer anime style with the breathing techniques that give them access to abilities. And then I would love to have a demon character and a fallen angel character in there, so you could play with, will they be either of them? Can a demon be redeemed? Can the fallen angel redeem him or herself, or vice versa? Will they fall farther, and what does that look like? Because I want the party to wrestle with End of the World as well. But I would love to have one of the PCs at least be the over-optimistic, like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to be the heroes. And
Be the shonen protagonist.
Yes, exactly. Like, no, we can do this if we stick together. All those tropes there.
Those are the best ones that you take and crush the hope of.
I was gonna say it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. But it would be really cool to see how that plays, and maybe it switches. And I want to have that prophetic, I don't know, sword in the stone sort of idea in there, and leave it up to see what happens. Maybe nobody is. I don't know exactly how I would do that. I'd have to think about that in the campaign. But if you take this and run it, decide, like, it could be any of them, or it could be none of them, and they still got to go forward. I think that's really interesting to kind of subvert the prophecy expectation there a little bit and play with that. That would be interesting. Probably keeping in some kind of notes or tally mark system in the background for the GM to decide. So that's something I'd have to flesh out more, or whoever's listening, take it and flesh it out more. But I like the idea of letting the story play out in that aspect and see how it actually plays, how the prophecy actually plays out, and then where you go from there. So, yeah, those are my ideas.
All right, Skrat. Now you're up.
All right, so I touched on this a little in the last episode. The party players wouldn't, no chosen, no nonsense like that. They are, well, I say nonsense. I don't have any problem with the chosen thing. I mean, everybody loves Zelda video games, and you are very much a chosen hero in those. So
Yes.
and it works good. It's just how you do it. But the part that the point, though, is that the party would be everyday people, and that's why they get to be the beacon of hope, right? So, because they're the ones that choose to stand up, though. So, to reiterate from the last episode, in mind, the whole world's falling apart, ending. There is no hope. Hence the name of the song, "The End of All Hope." Demons are running amok, taking over everything. Humans are very much losing the battle, and this would be very similar to a high fantasy setting, but it's going to be very, I don't know, is religious the right word if you're talking about demons and angels fighting and everything? Or
yeah, at least iconically. Yeah.
So it would lean much more into that. And what I was kind of hinting at in the last episode is that instead of a magic system, I wanted a faith system, which it would grant you different abilities, which I guess you could call magic spells or whatever, but the flavor would be your faith, and then you would have to do different things to build up your faith, which would allow you to it would determine which kind of spells you got, like how you were using your faith. That would go down different paths and trees, and how far up you went. So obviously
Jedi or Sith.
Yeah, basically.
Paragon or
with
Renegade.
More options than left and right. But obviously I didn't flesh out an entire system for our one episode, so some of this is vague. But I really like the way Mouse Ritter doesn't have a whole lot of magic. It just has a little bit. And I got the page right here. I pulled up. You get tablets, little rune tablets in that one, and you use them, and they have, I think they're all like 3 uses or 5 or something. But anyway, when the tablet gets used up, you have to recharge it, and you have to, each tablet has its own way to be recharged. Like I'm looking here, the spell, or the tablet that has the spell Fireball, in order to recharge it, you have to burn in the heart of a raging fire for 3 days and nights. Which sounds like a lot of flavor, but if you're familiar with Mouse Ritter, it's like, dang, I have to survive 3 days and nights. I have to find food. I have to do all this other stuff. Like, that is not a small task. So, Magic Missile, drop from a height of at least 30 feet and then touch the spell within 1 turn. So, like, each spell has these weird things that you have to do to recharge them, not to get them, just to recharge them. But I like the idea of that in order to, with your faith, like the specific things you have to do to acquire the spells instead of charging them.
Right.
And I was also kind of leaning towards the idea of the faith is something kind of like we talked about. I don't know which month it was when we were talking about. I had the detectives that were eldritch horrors in there. We had a lot to talk about.
August
sanity meters. There was that balancing of the meters. Like, they were actually having to consume people. So they're like, since they were detectives and the good guys, they're like, all right, well, we're going to find the bad guys and eat their brains or whatever. But that also messed up with their sanity. So they had to balance. And I'd really like something that with the faith system, like it as you're trying to push your faith up, you're risking these other things going down that might harm you or something. But I don't know what.
Ascension versus humanity or something like that.
Yeah, that, or maybe just the faith tasks put you in physical danger or something like that, or might get people to turn against you or something if you're leaning more into the social. I don't know. But I like that juggling aspect. Like, you can't just, straightforward path to better spells. I like the idea of multiple paths, but they're hard to go down and get farther up. So that would be cool. That would be more of the star of this instead of the characters. Because the idea would be anybody can do this. They just have to step up and do it.
Right.
So
yeah, that's really cool.
Cool means. All right. Well, it's funny how fast things go when we're discussing these type of things, because We're at 30-ish minutes. So, we went a little long last time. Try to keep it a little bit more brief this time. Those are our ideas for some PC ways to work around. So, Skrat, what's the final questions this time? I got
All right, it is. Now that we've had all our conversations about high fantasy, what is the most memorable high fantasy campaign or adventure you've ever played or run, and what made it so special?
I mean, for me, it's probably going to be Bomb Squad.
Just because it was so long.
Yeah.
5 years later.
Yep, 5 years later. 5 years, there's a lot in there, a lot of love and pain. But it was my first full campaign. That's my first real campaign. I'd done one-shots, I'd done some shots, but... So, you know, if you go watch it, you can see all the mistakes I make. But high fantasy, open legend, an open system with high fantasy, the players coming up with how to push the system as far as they possibly could. And it's fun that it's recorded too. But yeah, that's definitely... It'll always be special because it's, you know, the first one.
Yeah. Mine is one that only has a few recordings of it, and I don't know that any of them are on here. It's the beginnings and endings of Many a Great Hero, which we just kind of shortened to beginnings and endings. It was my first campaign that I ran. Didn't finish it, but it was mine. It's in my own world, homebrew thing. That universe got reset. And it was pre-reset of my setting. So a lot of stuff there. It's where a lot of my personal inside references and jokes come from. Joel was in it, Kane was in it, and then Alex was in it. And it was before Wild Heart, it was before Rise of the Rune Lords. So, all of that, it's my universe and setting, so that's what made it memorable for me. For other people, it might not have been, but it was memorable for me. Lots of stuff happened. There's Johnson was a character they were escorting across half the continent, and he turned out to be a silver dragon in disguise, and they were actually transporting a dragon orb, an orb that's able to control certain types of dragons, and it was one of the dragon orbs they were taking to the council in Telefiad, where the elves were, and the elves were the ones that were interlaced with the dragons, you know, for lore reasons there. It's where Dwarven Drinking Breeches comes from, because that was the cover for what they were transporting. Kane wanted to Kane's character Ignatius wanted to open up the magically sealed cart and see what was inside this magic box, this magic crate that they've been transporting with runes on the screws to protect everything and all that, like high security. Trekked it across half the continent. They open it up and it's filled Dwarven Drinking Breeches, which are just novelty breeches that give you a higher constitution roll when you are drinking, so you don't get drunk and puke. That's it. And his character wanted to kill Johnson by that point, because it's like, we risked our lives, our lives for this stuff. Dwarven Drinking Breeches. See, but they didn't empty it out. The orb's not big, so they didn't empty it out, because Johnson wouldn't let it and stuff like that. So they didn't find the orb. The orb was transported there to go to the elves. So it was fun. I had a lot of fun with that high fantasy there. It was interesting.
I love it.
What about you, Skrat? You going to answer your question?
I guess. That was probably the first campaign we did, even though it was 5e. Because
His
Wow.
yeah, I don't know. But the reason that I liked it so much is because that was the one where the player stories were. That was the campaign. Like it was just so interwoven between 5 different players, and then the scraps I had pulled out from that module we tried to use, just the first part I had, and then trying to piece it all together into something that made sense, and it came together really, really well, I thought. So that was because they were so connected to it. You know, they were getting into it. They were invested. And on that same token, like, even though the mushroom one was really, really cool in a lot of ways, my favorite part of that one probably was, it was like, I think the second or third chapter out of 8. And Krieg, the guy that's going to be running some of the games for us, the Mouse Ritter guy, he had to leave because this is about when he was moving across the world. And, you know, he was going to be away for several months, so he had to leave the game for a little. And nobody knew that he was going to leave, so they had this boss fight, and like he got to ride in on this mythical beast that they kept hearing rumors about, and they fought a dragon and everything, and he was like, all right, I'm gonna go with the mythical beast, I'm leaving. And everybody was like, nah, seriously, what? He was like, no, I'm actually leaving for a few months. Some tears were shed.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was good. It was a good scene, you know. He got to come in, and because he's also the one with the worst roles, you know, like it just awful.
There's always one.
He's the guy that I made a weapon for him. It's like, look, it always rolls with advantage. No exception. It just always rolls with advantage, and he still missed more than he had. So why are you so bad at this? So
why are you so bad at this game? I mean,
yeah,
it's
he
not,
got
you
to
can't
come in
win the game, but you're not winning the game.
Yeah, he got to be a little bit of a hero, have his moment, and then peace out. He also had a really cool return a couple chapters later, because, like, you know, they kept playing, and then he got to come back in, and it worked good with the story. But that was similar to the first campaign. That was them being intertwined with it more and more involved, whereas most of that Sanka campaign was kind of a module style thing. It's like, yeah, anybody could have picked this up and played. We didn't really, you know, have adventures based off backstories or anything. I mean, they still had their characters and still did the role play, but like it was I would say it's a plug and play adventure. But and we did that because I wanted to try both ways. So.
All right. Well, there
That's
you
awesome.
go.
All the firsts.
Yeah. Well,
I would say the Fallout one I did with Avenue Studios is probably a favorite, but it's not fantasy. So.
that's right. So no fantasy. So
That
you
one's
can
fun.
put in the comments. Skrat's favorite was 5e. Oh,
No.
they'll never guess that one.
No.
We'll know who watched the whole thing this time,
That's right.
because ain't no one guessing that. But I guess that brings us to our outro, since we're done with Skrat's final question. Which means we hope you have enjoyed our conversion of End of All Hope by Nightwish. Check out that turtle GM, still at least of time of recording, 1,000 subscribers-ish. Let's get him up to 1,500, see if we can. Check out this content. Check out Skrat from A Squirrel Plays on YouTube and buy his book. Check out Dan from Avenue Studios on YouTube, YouTube, Rumble, Patreon, locals, stuff like that. And then the Inn of Planar Crossroads. We hope you engage with our content on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Subscribestar, PayPal, Locals, Patreon, and all the other places you can find us. And as always, have a great day. God bless and enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.